Okay, YouTube, welcome back once again. On the last video, we looked at how to take over a province peacefully and how to manage your council. In this video, it's going to be another short one because I still haven't figured out what's going on with this game's screen capture, and I do apologize about that. But in this video, we're going to talk about actually going to war. So, the county of Kartali is actually one that I'm going to have my eyes on because of a few things. First of all, if you look at the religion, it is Orthodox Christian, but it's currently occupied by a Muslim ruler. So we're going to look at taking it over to try and liberate these Orthodox Christians, because that's the same religion, if you look on the map here, as Georgia is. Also, and the reason for that is it'll make it easier to conquer it because the people will be more willing to become subjects. The other reason is if we look at that de jure kingdom, the area that we wanted to take in this video, Kartali is one of those counties. And it's an independent realm, so by attacking it I won't incur the wrath of some big empire because they don't have any allies. There are no allies. You can check that by clicking on the county, clicking on the ruler, and then it'll show you their family members, vassals, courts, allies, and abroad. Well, no allies, so it should be easier to take. Now he's got a negative opinion of me, so if I offer vassalization, he's going to decline because I'm not a Christian, so he doesn't like that. You see false religion down there and base reluctance. As I mentioned in the last video, rulers just typically don't like to give up power. So, I'm going to ignore these up here for now. We might talk about that in another video. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on Kartali, we're going to click on the Conduct Diplomacy and Declare War. Now, why are we declaring war? Well, we can execute our ducal claim, which if we win, my prestige, it gives you a drop down of what happens if we win. If we win the war, the Vilayet of Kartali is de jure, which it is. It will become a vassal of Duke David II of Kartali, which is enough cause for war. So it's actually part of the Duke David of Kartali, who is one of my vassals. If you check here, if you go to direct vassals, the Duke controls Goar, and apparently Kartali is a part of his dukedom, I guess is what you would call it. He's also my nephew, so that's a nice little tidbit, and he's young and a good commander at that too. But anyway, so I believe I have him as my... No, he's not in my council. But anyway, so Kartali is a part of the dukedom. So if I press my ducal claim by declaring war, it will go to him. It will become a vassal. It will not become a part of my demzies. My demzies are these two counties. They're the counties I directly control myself. Or we can do a holy war because they are a Muslim kingdom. And if we do that, then all the titles held by Wali Padon within the Duchy of Kartali will become my own. So the King of Georgia's actual county. If we win, it'll become part of my demzies, so my third county. If we lose there, you'll see I lose prestige and piety because it's a holy war. Whereas if we do the ducal claim when we lose, I just lose prestige and the duke loses prestige. Same with a white piece. I'm not really looking to increase my own personal holdings, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to execute my ducal claim. Now, one thing to keep in mind, if you go to the military tab here before we do that, if you have any of your vassals, if you have any armies raised, you cannot declare war. It's probably a way to prevent the system from being gamed by having a massive army outside an enemy county without them having a chance to react. So you can't have any troops raised, or in order to do that, you'll see there down it gives you a series of things that you have to fall under if you do declare war. You have to Wali Patano Kartali cannot be at war with us already. We must have a valid causa belli, which these are the two options we can choose from. No betrothals to close relations, so we can't be linked by marriage. It has to be independent, and they can't hold any of my relatives hostage. So those are the conditions. So we're going to go ahead and execute. So we are now at war. We can call allies in if we want. We can call in the Duchy of Alania. I'm not going to do that because I don't feel like it. I don't really need it. So we'll dismiss that for now. We'll go ahead and unpause the game, and we will raise our armies. I shouldn't need any additional forces because it's a pretty small enemy, so I should be able to take them on pretty easily. It'll give you the dates that your soldiers are going to arrive, so I should arrive with more forces than the enemy. But will I arrive before them? Yes. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to accelerate. You accelerate time by pressing the plus key or minus key. So I'm going to go ahead and plus, and down here it gives you a war summary. So actually I'm going to slow things down here real quick. Down here on the left there's the war summary of the war that's going on with the Seljuks, between the Byzantines and Seljuks, as we already mentioned in the previous video, which I'm still a part of, although I haven't done anything yet. And then there's also the war between Kartali and myself. So the contested title is the Vilit of Kartali. The enemy has raised his forces and is clearly outnumbered. But it all matters on who gets where with the most first. So as you see there, quickly I've got 2 of my armies there. Now more will be arriving shortly. Hopefully these guys will do well enough. You can, when you get in a battle between 2 armies, you can click on your shield and it will pull up a battle summary. The battle consists of 3 phases. The first phase is ranged fighting, or kind of like skirmishing. This is the skirmish phase, where basically your light units are most valuable. So your archers and your light infantry are most valuable. After that, it will close to a fighting phase. I'm not sure if we're going to see that here. This is the third. Pursuit is the 3rd phase. So we're still in the skirmishing phase. Now I have a huge advantage in light infantry. So we've crushed the enemy right flank. Any battle consists of 3 flanks if it's large enough. Okay, there we go. Now we are on the melee phase, which is close combat. Heavy infantry is the most important thing here, or I believe heavy cavalry as well. But you want to have a balanced army. If you don't have a large army, if you have a very small army, you can only fight on one flank. If you have a large army like I do here, you can fight on multiple flanks. So there's 3 flanks. There's the right, left, and center. You can assign different commanders to each flank. Not once you're already in battle, but before battle when you're managing your army, which I'll get into a little bit later in a later video. And then after that comes when one of these sides retreats, you'll see that. So they are... they've been beaten, that's why there's a white flag there, they're retreating, and then the horse symbol is the pursuit phase. Light cavalry is the most important, because that allows you to ride the enemy down before they can retreat anywhere. But, as you see, I've clearly won this battle. It's just a matter of winding things down, and I haven't even gotten all my forces there yet. So... victory. There we go. Now this battle improved my war score, so it's been improved from 0 to 16.5, which rounds up to 17. The higher you are, the closer you are to 100%, the greater the likelihood of the enemy surrendering or giving in to you. They also take other things into account as far as whether they're willing to surrender, like how many troops they have left, how much money they have to maybe buy mercenaries, how many territories they have left. There's a whole bunch of things that influence war score, and an ability, an enemy's desire to surrender with a war score being, what it is. So 30% might allow a large kingdom to tolerate giving up 1 province, but not the entire empire, or something to that effect. I also did improve my piety and my prestige by the victory, although only a small amount. It tells you there the enemy had 93 survivors. The only thing is the enemy doesn't have anywhere... Oh, there they did. They retreated to Kartali. They'll retreat to any nearby province and continue fighting. Now they retreated right into one of my other armies, which is good, because if you click here, you'll see that the enemy is already retreating and my forces are already pursuing. Actually, this is my army led by me, King Bagrat IV. So this battle should end in a victory. We'll speed things up here by pressing the plus key. So there you go. I was victorious in that battle, influenced the war score by 5, although it didn't gain me any more prestige. Enemy had 40 survivors, which I believe, let's see, they're going to retreat to Guerra. So I will redirect one of my armies. Instead of going there, they'll go to Guerra to intercept the enemy. Meanwhile, in Kartali, we are besieging the enemy. So the enemy is still there. The enemy has 3 castles. They have the county capital of Nakartala, the city of Tbilisi, and the sheikdom of Savastia. So there's 3 different building types in any kind of county. There can be basically a church or a mosque in this case. There can be a castle, or there can be a city. Castles increase the amount of levies that can be raised. Cities have larger amounts of income, and churches increase piety and things like that. They all influence all factors, but those are just the broad overviews. And when you're taking a county, to fully control it, you do have to take all 3, or in this case all 3. There could be up to 4. There could be the home county castle, and then there could be 3 different additional sections, and they could be anything. I mean, you could have multiple cities, and you can actually build more. So if you go to my county, I could build a new holding. I'd have to have more money because I don't have enough money for a temple, city, or castle, but I could. Anyway, so it's besieging. Now, this is going to take a while. Sieges take a while. So we're going to have to, it's paused after that victory, we're going to have to accelerate things to try and cram this in. There you see the enemy's retreating. Oh, and there you see random events will occur, so apparently sometimes there are things that so there are different things that random events that occur. So this particular one's actually positive for me because some things cause the enemy's morale to drop by 10%. And morale is important. Oh my goodness. Okay, wait a minute. Whoa, that accelerated way too fast. So apparently there was a rebellion by the local county. So occasionally in counties you take over, there can be rebellions against you, and in this case there was a rebellion in Kartali, but I was successful against it. So I've never actually seen that happen before, where a county rebels against you while you're besieging it, but that was interesting. So that county did rebel, but we did defeat them. So we're accelerating time again to try and take over the enemy castles and holdings. Now, if I was to take this myself, and there we go, there's a victory. So there's a victory against an enemy army. That was the enemy army that retreated there. Am I at war with someone? Huh. Interesting. Anyway, so I'm getting a little sidetracked here. Essentially, one thing to keep in mind, whenever you are, there we go, Battle of Narkali, so the siege was successful on the very, well, occasionally the enemy may sally, and that's what it appears it's doing every so often. I'm still besieging Kartali, but it's still under siege. Obviously, it's been a while now. Another thing important when you're in war is the longer you have your vassals raised, the less happy your loyals are. They don't like having their soldiers raised and away from home. Hurts their income and other things like that. So that's something you want to try and wrap wars up pretty quickly. This war hasn't been going on very long compared to, you know, an actual difficult conflict, but that's just something that's going to hurt their opinion of me, and that is something important, especially the less powerful you are as a ruler, the more important their opinion of you is. But anyway, you can merge your armies, or, you know, split off new armies. While we're waiting here, you can split it, form a new army, you can merge it, you can disband it. I'm not going to disband it right now, obviously. The enemy keeps kind of sallying forth with small forces against me, or raising small forces. But so far, no success for them, and their morale is dropping. The lower their morale is, the more likely that the place is to surrender, so that's kind of the best way to win sieges. I have attempted to assault a siege before. There we go. The first of the 3 locations is now under my banner. I have assaulted a location head-on before, but you lose a lot of men, and it's not always the best option. It can certainly end a siege much quicker, but you also risk incredibly heavy casualties and seemingly impossible defeat. So it's something you usually want to avoid. I'm going to try and do it here. We'll see. As you see, I lose a ton of men. I was victorious, but I lost over 300 men in that assault there, and the enemy was outnumbered almost 10 to 1. So it really quickly took that second castle there, but it also cost me a ton of men. And now we have an offer of peace, which will pop up here along with the other notices. So he is offering essentially to surrender. So I'll accept that. I mean, why keep fighting if I don't need to? Gain 100 prestige. That county falls under my rule, and all things are good. We were victorious. So I'll go ahead and disband my army, and as you see there, my casualties are somewhat significant. I lost, but I mean, you do raise more men, so that is something that happens over time, as your losses will be replenished over time. I wanted to get out of that war as quick as possible because my -5 isn't bad, but having the vassals raised too long does incur negative opinion of you by your vassals. So there we go. I've taken another one of the counties that I wanted to take to complete the de jure Kingdom of Georgia. We've taken 2 now. We've got the counties of Albania, Derbent, Semder, which will be a tougher nut to crack, and Kaesong's left as well. Okay, Kaesong's is part of my ally in Alania, so I don't want to, at least I think they're my ally. Let's check. I've got 7 allies. Byzantium, blah 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 blah. Let's scroll through these. Well, at least a member, anyway, of the of the Alani dukedom somewhere in there is an ally, not the leader itself. So we have now a truce, and we've taken Kartali, and it's now part of my my kingdom, subject to one of my more powerful dukes, Duke David II. That's going to conclude this video. We'll look at a few other things in the next video, including maybe setting up an ambition, or maybe we'll see what happens with Dwin. Maybe I'll expand a little bit further south, even though that's not part of my territorial goals. It would necessarily be a nice addition because it should be an easy conquest. It's a small independent Muslim kingdom, and it's also actually orthodox in its religion. Although you do need to consider when you do go to war with kingdoms, their opinion is affected by your diplomacy. So if you go to war with a lot of Muslim kingdoms and you use the excuse of a holy war to take a kingdom over, then other members of the same religion will view you less positively. So it is something you want to consider. But that's going to wrap this video up. If you like this, please hit the like button, subscribe, and hopefully more to come soon.